I guess, also through Judaism, that you learn to be giving and all this. And they still remember it from past life. Some don't remember it from past life. Some maybe haven't practiced it. Okay, so this is what you will take with you in your next lives, your habits. A habit of self-concern or a habit of being concerned about others. Not because you want to manipulate them to be liked, because these people are liked. We like to be together with them. We are kind to them. We respect them. We also bring up our positive sides when they're there. So you shouldn't be kind because of that. Just for the purpose of being kind. And then you see how relaxing that is. It's so relaxing not to fight. It's so relaxing just to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's so relaxing. The advantage of cherishing others, and on top of it, all the actions that you do when you're more concerned with the happiness of others, it becomes a big action. So when you give some money to a homeless person, and you think, through this act of generosity, may I become a Buddha, so one day I can give you Dharma. You know, so it's like, it's a huge act, because you do it for the benefit of all sentient beings. 1 shekel. So give 5, at least, okay? Because 1. To buy enlightenment is a little bit too little. How do you react? You give 1 shekel and then the person says, can I have 2? How do you react?
I went through.
Huh?
I went to the cash machine one time. I gave her and she said that it's not enough. I went and I took 100 shekels.
Nice. Was she happy?
One time I did it.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's okay to do it 1 time. How did it feel?
It felt really good.
Felt very good. Because it's true, 1 shekel is not that much. With 1 shekel, they cannot go very far. If we give them 10, we feel like, wow. We go to the next coffee shop, buy a coffee for how much? 30, 40 shekel. You give 40 shekel to a homeless person, you go like, wow, I'm so generous. Wow. We just learn to be honest about ourselves. We don't need to judge ourselves, we don't need to feel bad about it, we just learn to be honest. So we see the advantage of cherishing others, and therefore all the good things that come to us now are a result of having cherished others. All the negative things that happen to us are a result of having cherished ourselves. It's as simple as that. Then we start to exchange ourselves for others. Like instinct, my happiness more important than other people's happiness. Maybe my friend's happiness also I put some effort. But people I dislike, well, definitely not. But then we put others in front of us. Their happiness more important than mine. And then we start to do tonglen, this breathing in all the negativities and giving out all the happiness. When we have made that resolve, this is what I'm going to train. And you train it in the meditation where usually, you know what Netta said, can you get sick? I've done a lot of tonglen, I never got sick. It's quite rare. You need to have a very, very strong connection with that person so that you do get the sickness. And then you're not unhappy about this. You see what I mean? But she was asking, because then I talked to her, she was asking about teaching that to other people who have low self-esteem. Never, ever teach them that. You need to know what you're destroying. You're not destroying yourself. You're destroying the wrong view about ourselves. We destroy the ignorance of producing that self-existing self. We talk about that this afternoon, what we are destroying. That's what we are destroying, with a lot of concern for yourself. So if you do this as a therapist and you try to teach tonglen to people who have no idea about emptiness, no idea about the path, don't. Do not. It's not beneficial for them. Unless you are a master and you see that they're capable of doing it. But in general, first of all, you need to know what you're destroying, and secondly, you need to have quite a good amount of healthy self-confidence. Okay, so at least I covered the 2 ways of developing bodhicitta. I'm very happy about this. So I think now, before the Dana talk, the Dana talk is now? Okay. So this afternoon we look at ultimate bodhicitta, this afternoon we look at emptiness. And then we'll be able to go in this weekend until verse, or the third point. And then once you understood this, the other points are quite easy to cover. So that will be, easy to cover, but are quite easy to understand, let's say like that. So then the next weekend will be, you have developed bodhicitta, you have decided to become a bodhisattva, you're inspired by this. So first you have what is called aspiring bodhicitta. You don't dare to make the step yet, but you keep exploring, you keep seeing it as something really beneficial. And then when the time comes, you say, yes, now I want to enter this path. You take bodhisattva vows, and you start to consciously practice the 6 perfections. Which what they are, we can cover next time, and definitely in the Lamrim course.
Can you do it as a lay person?
Of course. You see, you don't need to become a nun to become a bodhisattva. You can take vows as a lay person, pratimoksha vows. You can take the 5 vows, you can take 8 vows for the rest of your life without having to shave your hair and being a nun. You can take bodhisattva vows, absolutely no problem as a lay person. You can take tantric vows. You don't need to be a nun. But in order to take the bodhisattva vows, first you need to have at least these 5 lay vows. At least that before you start becoming, like the vows of not harming others. Now these are vows of not killing, not stealing, no sexual misconduct, no intoxicants, and no lying. These are the 5 lay vows that you can take as a lay person. You can extend them to 8 where there is no sexual contact, like the brahmacharya vows, and something about food and all these kind of things. You can also take a vow, for example, to become a vegetarian. Sit in front of the Buddha, or you sit in front of another person and you say, I take the vow of not eating meat for 1 week, 2 weeks, or the rest of your life, or 1 month, or 4 times a year, or whatever. See, if you find it difficult to stop eating meat, then just do it for certain times until you get used to it. That's okay. Okay. So then you have what is, so you have aspiring bodhicitta. You think this is very good. You start to practice that a little bit, and you meditate on these points, and you practice it in your daily life. This 7-point mind training you can do with aspiring bodhicitta, because it will train the mind to be a bodhisattva. And then when you have an engaging bodhicitta, you start practicing the 6 perfection, and you take the bodhisattva vows, which you will not be able to keep because they're so difficult to keep. But it's good to look at them from time to time, because otherwise you forget what they are. And then you see where you still need to adjust. They're very difficult to keep. In order to take them, you need to have the wish to be able to take them. Okay. So just briefly about Ling Rinpoche, who will visit this country in March. So I knew Ling Rinpoche when he was very small. Kaya asked me, do you think they remember their past lives? I think they do, because when he was 4 or 5 years old, he was living next to Tushita. And after every 10-day course, we would go over to him and visit him. So the answer that he gives you, then we asked him questions to this, he's sitting in his chair, waiting for us, like he's sitting now, waiting for us, like not nervous, not fidgeting, just sitting and waiting. And so we would usually tell the people, it is a lot of positive karma that you do if you make offerings to these beings, because they are so heavy objects in a way, because they are so valuable, because they have such a developed mind. So at that time, the only thing that people could buy was chocolate, like in the shop. So he would be sitting there, already a bit overweight, with the table next to him, because already in his past life he was big. So in this life, he was born big. So then He's there with this kind of 80 bars of chocolate or something, because we had 80 people on the course. Somebody asked him, Rinpoche, are you going to eat this chocolate all by yourself? He looked at him and he said, would you? See, he would very often just throw a 4 or 5 year old boy. Somebody asked him, do you know about emptiness? He says, yes. Then he started to explain how things do not exist the way, da, da, da. Somebody asked him about, do you remember your past life? He said, yes. Then the person didn't go any further. Somebody asked him, don't you miss other children and to play with other children? He said, no. Like, very calm, very totally. And I think the most, the chocolate one, that really impressed me. The emptiness, not so much, that he remembers past lives, I know. I mean, and that they have special qualities, I also know. Because if you have contact with these teachers, you can sit in the audience of 100 people, you have a question in your mind, all of a sudden he starts to talk about this. If you try to hide something, they pull it out. They give you advice. The moment they give you advice what to do, at that moment, you still don't know why you have to do this. But when you're strong enough to keep the advice and to do it, at the end you will know. And you will see how beneficial it was, but only at the end. So this is why you need that trust. So he was the the senior tutor of, junior, I think, senior tutor. The Dalai Lama always has 2 teachers. One is Trichan Rinpoche and one is Ling Rinpoche. So both of them in their past lives, then they passed away. And so Ling Rinpoche, he is now 22, 3 something. Well, I was at Tushita, he was 4, 5, 70, yeah, something, quite young. He has gone through the very traditional education in Sera. He is very traditional. He's totally devoted to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, although he is the teacher of the Dalai Lama, but he has to go through the steps again of learning. They do need to do that, but it goes very fast and it goes very quick. And so he was invited to come to this country. He agreed. So if you would like to be part of that visit, not just consuming, but also helping, you can contact the Dharma friends that you want to volunteer. Because you see, volunteering when teachers come is difficult, but it's so nice. Because you see them when they are not on the throne. You have direct access to them, and then you start to see their qualities. And then you start to really be inspired. And then you can ask all the questions that you want to ask. If you cook for them, or if you have a nice house, you offer your house, they live there, or things like that. If you do have a big villa, you can, I think, still offer it, because they're still looking for a place. So if you would like to offer your house, for him to live there, this is like, wow. If you would like to help financially, because it's always very expensive, because we try to offer them good things, not because they want it, but because out of respect. This is to show our own respect, so they usually fly business class and things like that. So if you would like to help financially, there is a donation box. So by helping financially, even if you don't have time to volunteer and you think my cooking skills are not good enough, or then think, but at least I can help financially, and try to be happy. You see, dana is, whenever you give dana, you need to be happy what you put in that box. Otherwise, don't put anything. This is the system. The system is the economy of the heart. I have something, I can give it. And then it continues. Because generosity, why do we have something to give now? Because you've been generous in the past. So if you keep it all to yourself, you destroy that effort that you made in the past. And generosity, try to have a mind. I'm not saying that so that you put a lot in the box. Don't put too much either. Put something so that it makes you happy. You see, again, giving 1 shekel to the homeless person, spending 100 shekel on your lunch, or just 40 shekel on your 4th coffee that you already know it's not good for you. How can you be happy about having given him a shekel? You can be proud, but not happy. This is what I mean. If you are attached to things to buy things and you know it's no good, even it out. Whatever you buy for yourself, the same amount you give to an organization. That will help you, you know, to stop buying things that are totally useless, for example. And then at the end, you become so, because generosity makes you happy if you give freely, but only if you give freely, you know. So the mind, when you give, is I give as much as I can, not as little as I can, because as little as I can is a tight mind, is not a happy mind. And since we want to be happy, we deprive ourselves of happiness, which is a shame. We could, but don't give so much that then you're lacking. If you give with fear, I might be lacking when I'm 80 years old and now you're 20, I mean, that's unreasonable fear. Okay, I might need these, how many shekels you put, whatever. Okay, so this is about lingering Rinpoche, a little bit about Dana, and now Shoshana will tell you more about these things. I think it's good you come here and you take the microphone.
No, we sit in a circle.
Ah, you sit in a circle. Okay, so you sit in a circle. We see lunch is at 1 o'clock, so I see you down there. Okay. The key for the storeroom, is it up? Okay, because I got